All right, Shalom. This is Brother Lawyer
And Shamar,
from the GMS Miami camp, giving all praises to Yahweh,
Yahweh,
Bahashem,
Bahashem,
Yahweh
Yahushai.
Shai, double honors to the elder apostles of Great Millstone, who taught us this truth, who rule well, and salutations to all the Akim out there pushing the word of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, in truth and sincerity. Today we're going to get into a lesson about Romans chapter 11, about the wild olive tree and the natural olive tree, to highlight a few points proving that the whole analogy and that the whole metaphor that Paul's speaking about is concerning Israel, because a lot of people believe that it's talking about heathens when really the Gentiles that's being talked about that are being grafted back in are Israelites. So we're just going to go through a few precepts. We're not going to go through the whole chapter, just a few points in that chapter to prove that, as it is written, precept upon precept, line upon line. So to begin, we'll start at Romans 11 and 13.
This is Romans 11:13. For I spake to you, for I speak to you, Gentiles, and as much as I am the apostle of the Gentiles, I magnify mine office.
That's right. So Paul said that he speaks unto you, Gentiles, and as much as I am an apostle, I am the apostle of the Gentiles, I magnify my office. Now, Paul was made an apostle unto the Gentiles by Yahushua himself. Okay. And a lot of people believe that the Gentiles that Paul went unto were heathens when in actuality they were Israelites. And the first tiny little point I want to make before we even dive into this topic is when you look at the word Gentile, whether it be in the Greek or in the Hebrew, the word goes back to nation, tribe, or people group, right? So with such a generic, broad, almost vague definition, you would have to use context clues to discern, depending on the context of the verse or the chapter or the situation, to discern whether or not this nation or these Gentiles that's being talked about in a specific verse or a specific chapter is heathens or are they Israelites. In this case, we're going to prove to you, to those brothers that are watching, those of the elect, for edification's sake, that the Gentiles that Paul is talking about are Israelites. And the first way we're going to do that is we're going to go to Romans 9 and 24.
Ready?
Come.
This is Romans chapter 9, verse 24. Even us, whom he hath called, not of the Jews only, but also of the Gentiles.
Right. Paul said, even us, of whom he hath called, not of the Jews only, but also unto the Gentiles. Paul's, basically talking about the elect, and how the elect are going to be vessels of mercy and honor and glory into the Most High, not to the Jews only, but also to the Gentiles. And these Gentiles are specific people. I'm sure brothers already know the precepts that's coming next, so we might as well just jump into it. Go ahead. Yay.
Verse 25. As he saith also in OC, I will call them my people, which were not my people, and her beloved, which was not beloved. And it shall come to pass that in the place where it was was said unto them, ye are not my people, there shall they be called the children of the living power.
Right. So Paul quotes Hosea, and he says, I will call them my people, which are not my people. So we're going to jump to Hosea, because Paul's the subject of that particular verse 24, is the Gentiles. It says not to the Jews only, but also to the Gentiles. So the subject, what those next two verses, verse 25, 26, and 27 are directed to the Gentiles. So we're gonna have to go to Hosea to see what Paul's quoting from, and what is he saying. So we're gonna go to Hosea chapter 1, verse 9.
This is Hosea chapter 1, verse 9. Then said the Most High, call his name Lo Amai, for ye are not my people, and I will not and I will not be your power.
Con. So basically, here in Hosea chapter 1, Hosea is having his, I believe it's his third child, which is a boy. And these children that he was having were supposed to represent the judgment that the Most High had pronounced upon Israel, upon the house of Israel and the house of Judah. And in this case, Hosea had a son, and his name was Lo Ammi, which the name Lo Ammi means not my people, or not a people, or no people, right? And the reason why the Most High had Hosea name his son that is because the Most High said that ye shall not be my people anymore, and I will not be your God, because we basically committed sin against the Most High. So go ahead, I'll keep reading.
Yet the number of the children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea, which cannot be measured nor numbered. And it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, ye are not my people, there it shall be said unto them, ye are the sons of the living power.
You don't have to read that again, Art.
Read it again?
Yes, read it again.
Verse 10. This is Hosea 1 and 10. Yet the number of the children of Israel
the number of the children of who?
Israel shall be as the sand of the sea, which cannot be measured nor numbered. And it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, ye are not my people, there it shall be said unto them, ye are the sons of the living power.
Con. So that goes to show you that those Gentiles that Paul's talking about in Romans chapter 9, verse 24, Salakia, let me click that correctly, are those Gentiles are Israelites, because that goes back to Hosea when the Most High said we will not be his people and he will not be our God. So the Most High basically stripped our nationality from us. And we were scattered amongst the heathen. And we basically lost who we were as a people. We lost our heritage. We were not calling ourselves Israelites. And we've been scattered for a very, very, very long time. Going back to the judges, we were under the curses of the different nations. Then the Most High raised up Saul and David, and Solomon went off. The kingdom split. Then we went to captivity into Babylon, Assyria, and various other places. Now, when Paul is writing this, we're under the Roman captivity, the Greco-Roman captivity. So even at this time, there was a casting away of Israel. There was a scattering of Israel. There were Israelites that did not have their that were Israelites by blood, but they didn't know who they were. So they were living as Romans. When you are in Rome, you do as the Romans do, right? And then you had the Hellenism going on back then as well. So that goes to show you that the Israelites, or that the Gentiles in the New Testament are Israelites, because the Most High was basically giving them their heritage, giving them their nationality, giving them the understanding of who they were, the law, statutes, commandments, and the promises back through Yahweh Shai, okay? Because they were being called Gentiles, but they were coming back into the understanding of them being Israelites, truly. So we're going to go back to Romans chapter 11. And go back to verse 14.
All right.
Actually, we can start at 13.
This is Romans 11 and 13. For I speak to you Gentiles, inasmuch as I am the apostle of the Gentiles, I magnify my office. If by any means I may provoke to emulation them which are my flesh, and might save some of them.
Con. So Paul said, if by any means I may provoke to emulation them which are my flesh, and might save some of them. So Paul is obviously saying that the Gentiles are his people, but at the same time he wants to provoke the Jews of the circumcision, which are his flesh, who he has a closer relationship with, to emulate the faith that the Israelite foreigners were displaying. Okay, so either way you slice it, is obviously talking about Israel. And mind you, this is the chapter that Christians and various other denominations of people who claim to believe or know the Bible, this is one of the chapters that they will prove or use to try to prove that the Gentiles or that heathens can make it. But when you read the chapter verse over verse, you go precept upon precept, you use the context clues, you use the instruction manual that the Most High gave us in Isaiah 28. It's clear that these people are Israelites. It's very clear. Paul explicitly says that the Gentiles that he's talking to are Israelites. He goes to Hosea and he proves it. Okay, so it would stand to reason that in all of his other letters, those Gentiles are also Israelites. Okay, and there's nothing to indicate otherwise.
All right. Back at Romans 11, verse 15. For if the casting away of them be the reconciling of the world, what shall the receiving of them be? But life from the dead.
Right, because the circumcision, the Jews, a lot of them fell away from the Most High, or the Most High basically casted them away because they didn't have faith in His Son Yahweh Shai. They did not have faith in Him. They were also worshiping idols. So Paul's basically saying, if the casting away of them be the reconciling the world, the reconciling of the world being Israel, what shall the receiving of them be but life from the dead? Because, like Paul said, he was trying to provoke them to emulation. So the Jews of the circumcision fell away. So the Most High sent Paul to the Gentiles to provoke them to jealousy, so that they could could try to emulate the faith that the Gentiles, the Israelite foreigners, were displaying, and be drawn back and reconciled back to the Most High.
All right. Verse 16. For if the first fruit be holy, the lump is also holy. And if the root be holy, so are the branches.
Right. Paul's using an analogy of a tree here. With a tree, you had the first fruits, was basically the first harvest.
Yeah.
You know, the tree grows, and then you have the first harvest. You pick those first fruits. They're supposed to be the best fruits, right? And Paul says, if the first fruit of the tree be holy, then the lump, which is basically the bulk or the mass, the rest of the mass of the fruits that's going to grow or come out of that, they must also be holy, right? And if the root is holy, the root where the tree came out of is holy, then the branches must be holy. So Paul is dealing with a specific kind of tree here, a specific tree here. He's not dealing with, this kind of tree, that kind of tree. He's dealing with an olive tree, a single kind. Okay? Go ahead.
Verse 17. And if some of the branches be broken off, and thou being a wild olive tree wert grafted in among them, and with them partakest of the root and fatness of the olive tree.
Right. So this is where people get tripped up, because it says, if some of the branches being broken off were broken off, and thou being a wild olive tree were grafted in among them, people get confused because they assume, that it's a wild olive tree, so the wild olive tree must represent heathens, right? But actually the contrary is true, because in Isaiah there's a similar parable being made here, being made in Isaiah by Isaiah himself, of a wild tree and a good tree. So we're gonna go to Isaiah 5, and we're gonna start at verse 1 to prove that point.
All right, this is Isaiah 5:1. Now will I sing to my well-beloved a song of my beloved touching his vineyard. My well-beloved hath a vineyard in a very fruitful hill. And he fenced it, and gathered out the stones thereof, and planted it with a choice vine, and built a tower in the midst of it, and also made a winepress therein. And he looked that it should bring forth grapes, and it brought forth wild grapes.
So here in Isaiah is singing a song to his well-beloved, which is the Most High, about the Most High's vineyard, which chapter goes into it, breaks down that it's Israel, and how the Most High set up Israel. He fenced us, he put a hedge around us, he gathered out the stones, he separated us from our enemies, he put a hedge around us, he planted us in the land, he set up judges on the watchtower, the winepress, which would be the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. And the Most High looked at it that we should bring forth grapes, which was good fruit, but we brought forth wild grapes. Okay, so the Most High did all of this so that we could fear Him and love Him and serve Him and keep His commandments. But we went off as a people and we brought out bitter, wild grapes, sour fruit. Okay, and what was that sour fruit? Breaking His commandments, worshiping idols, adultery, homosexuality, witchcraft, all manner of wickedness, murdering. That was, and we became wild as a people.
Verse 3. And now, O inhabitants of Jerusalem and men of Judah, judge, I pray you, betwixt me and my vineyard.
Right, and Jerusalem and Judah is a people before it's a place.
What could have been done more to my vineyard that I have not done in it? Wherefore, when I looked that it should bring forth grapes, brought it forth wild grapes.
So Most High did everything for us, and we went off and we became wild and wicked, basically. Okay, go ahead.
And now go to, I will tell you what I will do to my vineyard. I will take away the hedge thereof, and it shall be eaten, and it shall be eaten up, and break down the wall thereof, and it shall be trodden down.
Right, and that is exactly what happened, man. We wanted to live like the heathen, so Most High sent the heathens against us, and Most High didn't protect us. Took the hedge down, and we were trodden down by the heathen. Okay, and we were scattered. Most High laid waste to us. Go ahead.
And I will lay it waste; it shall not be pruned nor digged, but there shall come up, what's that? Briars and thorns. I will also command the clouds that they rain no rain upon it.
So now we live in now people are living amongst the heathen now as they were back then, living amongst the Romans, the Romans, the Grecians, the Babylonians, the Assyrians, and our people became wicked. And we didn't. The Most High turned His face from us. The Most High hid His face from us. We didn't have the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of the Most High. The only ones that really kept it were the Jews of the circumcision, and even them, they was going off trying to keep their own traditions and their own ways.
Keep going. For the vineyard of the Lord of hosts is the house of Israel, and the men of Judah is pleasant plant, and He looked for judgment, but behold, oppression for righteousness, but behold, a cry.
Right. So the Lord, like basically the scripture says, the vineyard of the Lord of hosts is the house of Israel, and the men of Judah is His pleasant plant. And He looked for judgment, but behold, oppression; for righteousness, but behold, a cry. So the olive yard, the wild olive tree, the natural olive tree, the olive tree period is talking about the house of Israel and the house of Judah. Okay, and if I'm correct, when you look at that word vineyard in the blue letter Bible, and you go into the lexicon, I think one of the words there is actually olive yard, if I'm correct. Yeah, basically we became wicked, and the Most High looked for judgment, looked for us to be a holy people unto Him, but we were oppressed, and we were oppressing each other for righteousness, but behold, a cry for righteousness. Instead of actual righteousness, we were crying for it. So that goes to show you who the wild olive tree in Romans chapter 11 is. So if you don't mind going back to Romans 11 and 17, we're also going to focus on that word wild a little bit more too.
Like at Romans 11 and 17. And if some of the branches be broken off, and thou being a wild olive tree were grafted in among them.
Right, you can stop right there, Salakia. It says, thou being a wild olive tree, right? So we're going to focus on that word wild and see what that word wild means. The word wild goes back to the Strong's Greek G6 5, and I'll play it.
Strong's G65, agrielias. Agrielias.
Right, agrielias, which means to be or of or belonging to the olester or wild olive tree, the olester or wild olive tree, right? So that's what it says here in the Greek. So we're gonna also go to the etymology online dictionary, and in the etymology online dictionary it says wild is an adjective. It says of Old English, in the natural state, uncultivated, untamed, undomesticated, uncontrolled, right? So the wild olive tree are Israelite foreigners, and the reason why they're being considered or called wild is because they're uncultivated, they're undomesticated, they're uncontrolled, they're untamed. Untamed by what? Domesticated by what? The laws, statutes, and commandments. Okay, because they was living amongst the heathen, acting like heathens. Okay,
The law was supposed to control us,
right?
As a people, and the Israelite foreigners, they had no law, so they were lawless, they were uncontrollable.
Right, exactly. Even though they technically were still under the covenant, they didn't live by the laws. They were still under the covenant, of course, because the Israelites stay under the curses and everything. You know, they would still be judged out of those things written in the law, regardless. But they, like you said, they were living amongst the heathen. They were living lawlessly. They were pretty much living like animals.
Yep.
Okay, and when you look at that word, wild, it means uncultivated, right? But when you look at the word cultivated or to cultivate in the etymology, it goes back. It says early 17th century from Middle Latin cultivatus, past participle of cultivare, to cultivate, from Latin cultivatus or cultivus, tilled from Latin cultive, a figurative sense of improve by training or education. It says to improve by training or education. So they were uneducated in the ways or untrained in the ways of being an Israelite. Okay, because the law, statutes, commandments, that's supposed to be our wisdom and our knowledge in the sight of the nations. But since they weren't living according to those law, statutes, commandments, and they don't really have knowledge of the law, statutes, commandments, then they were uncultivated as a people. They were wild. Okay, and do we not see that today? Do we not see our people living out there wild like animals, man? You turn on the news, you go on the internet, you go on YouTube, you go on World Star Hip Hop, and all you see is our people living shamelessly, man. The men and the women and the children, man, living like a bunch of animals. And they're the same everywhere you go. You go to Europe, they're the same way. You go to West Africa, they're the same way. South America, the Caribbean, Central America, Mexico, North America, Canada, Hawaii, or anywhere else they'd be on the planet, even if they were in China.
Yeah. See, I'll put in post production. You got actual niggas in Japan, like rapping like niggas in Japan, pants sagging and all, looking like straight niggas, but they speaking that Ammonite tongue, man. Straight lawless fucks, man.
Exactly, right? So we're gonna focus on the scripture to help back up that point about our people being lawless and our people being wild, and how our people became this way. So Deuteronomy 28 and 14, if you don't mind.
This is Deuteronomy 28 and
15, Slakia.
15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy power, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
So the Lord said, if thou will, first of all, the Lord said it shall come to pass, right? So it was never a maybe, okay? It was gonna happen, right? Right. So it says, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy power, right? Who's the voice of the Lord? The voice of the Lord is his prophets, right? So the Most High sent us his prophets And we were supposed to hearken unto the prophets, right? But we didn't, and we did not observe to keep and do all his commandments, and all these curses came upon us. All right, so our people were living even in the land of Israel, our people were living lawlessly. Tells you that when you read Jeremiah, our people were oppressing the poor, and our people were taking bribes. The priests were taking bribes. Adultery was being committed. Idolatry was being committed. All manner of wickedness was being committed. Right, so our people was living wild back then. The Most High said, "Okay, you want to live wild? I'll make you real wild. Okay, you gonna see what wild is. Okay." so, jump down to verse. We're gonna jump down to verse 64. Deuteronomy 28 and 64. Salaki. Yeah. The water. Yeah.
It's Deuteronomy 28 and 64. And the Lord shall scatter them among all people from the one end of the earth even unto the other. And there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone.
Right, that's right. So one of the curses that the Most High put upon our people for not wanting to listen to Him and for being wild, the Most High scattered us amongst all people, amongst all the nations upon the earth, from one end of the earth to the other, man. So Most High scattered us, and part of the curses, you wanted to worship idols in my land? All right, I'm gonna scatter you amongst these people. You're gonna be their slaves, and you're gonna worship their idols. Since you want to be like them, I'm gonna make you subject to them, and I'm gonna make you worship their gods. Okay, so our people started living like the heathens, man. Now that happened in the ancient world, like we've been going into thus far. It happened in Babylon. It happened in Assyria. It happened when we were in captivity under the Moabites, the Philistines, the Ammonites, the Greeks, the Romans, the Persians. Okay, and it's happening now today here in America, living wild, man, worshiping gods both wood and stone. Okay. So let's see, man. Okay, Khan. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna jump back to Romans chapter 11. Akim, bear with us, please, because we trying to hit every point. It's a lot of points that we need to hit. Let's go back to Romans 11 and 17.
This is Romans 11:17. And if some of the branches be broken off, and thou be a wild olive tree, and thou being a wild olive tree, were grafted in among them, and with them partakest of the root and fatness of the olive tree. Boast not against the branches, but if thou boast, thou bearest not the root, but the root these.
Right. So Paul said, if thou being a wild olive tree were grafted in among them. Right. So we're gonna focus on the word grafted and see what that word means. Okay, if you don't mind, read read the Strong's number for me.
This is Strong's G 1461.
I think it's Ekin Strizo. Let me see. Just to make
Strong's G 1461. Egkentrizo. Egkentrizo.
That's right. So Strong's G, and the Greek word there is ekkentrizo. If you don't mind reading definition out.
To cut into for the sake or inserting a scion.
Con. So the first definition is what we're concerned with. It says to cut into for the sake of inserting a scion. So what is a scion? Let's look at the definition of the word scion, right? Read the first and second definition.
Scion, a young shoot or twig of a plant, especially one cut for grafting or rooting. A descendant of a notable family.
Right. And when you look at some more of those definitions of the second definitions, it says descendant, heir, successor, child, offspring, issue, right? So the second definition says a descendant of a notable family. So these scions, these scions that are being grafted in from the wild olive tree into the natural olive tree are descendants of the same family. They're heirs of the same family. They're the offspring of the same family. If not, the Most High said, Israel is my son, even my firstborn. Are we not heirs to the promise? Are we not the children of the promise, the offspring of the promise? Okay, but maybe that's not enough. So we got to actually go. We're gonna go into the definition of grafting, what grafting is technically speaking, and to further prove the point. Go ahead.
All right. Grafting. What is grafting? Grafting is a
Horticulture.
horticulture technique used to join parts from one or more plants so that they appear to grow as a single plant.
Two or more.
Yeah, so like from two or more plants so that they appear to grow as a single plant.
Mm-hmm.
The upper part, scion, um, of one plant grows on the rootstock of another plant.
Mm-hmm.
Grafting can only be done between reasonable closely related plants.
Grafting can only be done between reasonably closely related plants. So these plants have to be of the same kind. They have to be of the same gene, okay, of the same family or species of tree, so to speak. So you can't take apple tree and then try to graft the apple tree to a mango tree. You can't take a watermelon and try to graft it into a pineapple. It's not gonna work. You would have to take maybe a banana, a certain type of banana, to try to graft it into another kind of banana. You have to take a green apple tree to try to graft it into a red apple tree. You'd have to take the wild olive tree to graft it into the natural olive tree, but they would have to be of the same kind. Okay, and that's according to the laws of nature and the laws of the Most High. Anything than that would be going off, because does not Esau try to splice gene plants and splice gene this with that? And is not the Most High going to destroy him for that? Is that not against the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High? So go ahead, keep reading that.
Most often, the limits of success are with other species in the same genes.
Mm-hmm.
Though in some cases, plants in different but closely related genera can graft successfully. Example, what's that? Larch.
Larch.
Larch will graft on Douglas fir, and in other cases, not even between some species in the same gene.
So it says most often. It says most often the limits of success are within, with other species, of the same genus. Okay, so of the same kind, of the same gene pool, so to speak. So they would have to be of the same kind to graft successfully, and that's supported by scripture. And the scripture that we're going to use, we're going to go all the way back to the beginning in Genesis, Genesis chapter 1, and we're going to bring it out. Yeah, start at 11.
This is Genesis 1, verse 11. And Most High, and Most High said, "Let the earth bring forth grass, the herb yielding seed, and the fruit tree yielding fruit after his kind, whose seed is in itself upon the earth." And it was so.
Right. So Most High said, "Let the earth bring forth fruit, and grass and herbs and fruit trees, yielding fruit after his kind." After his kind. So it had to be of the same seed, of the same patriarchal lineage, to graft one tree to another tree. Okay. That's how the Most High created things. Everything according to its kind. That's why you can't. Like we said earlier, you can't graft the apple tree into an orange tree unless you're doing some kind of mad science. You naturally just can't do it, because the Most High had already set it up in the beginning that everything would be according to its kind. That's why an apple is always an apple, no matter if it's a green apple, a red apple, a yellow delicious apple. All of them are apples. A wild olive tree, a natural olive tree, a black olive, a green olive, a yellow olive, olives. A wolf, even with animals, a wolf, a golden retriever, a pit bull,
Dogs.
A Chihuahua, dogs.
Canines.
A lion, a tiger, a leopard, a cat, a Siamese cat, a cheetah, cats.
Felines. They're not gonna mix. You're never gonna see a dog popping a cat.
Exactly. Khan, so you can read verse 12, Art.
Alright, verse 12. And the earth brought forth grass, and an herb yielding seed after his kind, and the tree yielding fruit, whose seed was in itself after his kind. And Most High saw that it was good.
So the Most High saw that it was good.
Yep.
Everything according to its kind, everything according to its like, okay? And the scriptures say in Sirach, all flesh consorted to his like, right? So if that's the case, if everything is according to its kind, if all flesh consorted with its kind, and the Most High saw that it was good in the beginning, then why would it change? I thought the Most High said he don't change.
He doesn't.
Why would the Most High set up this law in nature, and the Most High sets everything up in nature, okay, so that we could observe and learn from these things, okay, so that we could observe and have understanding. That's why the scriptures often use analogies in the New Testament relating to the Old Testament. Yahweh Shai is called the lamb without blemish. Where does that go back to? Did not we sacrifice lambs without blemish on the Passover? So the Most High does these things, sets up these mechanisms and these systems in nature, these laws in nature and in the universe, basically, so that we could learn from these things and we could get understanding of the scriptures, because we learn by our senses. The Most High is far out. Okay, so the Most High has to use physical, tangible things so that we could take from these things, observe these things, and get understanding of the spiritual nature of how He works. Okay. So this is how the Most High set it up in the beginning. But let's get another law, Leviticus 19 and 19, to also prove that it would also contradict the Most High to graft in heathens in with the Israelites and have them partake of the same promises, which is a ridiculous notion, because the only people who could receive the promises are the Israelites by faith.
Yep.
They're the only ones that could receive the promises by faith, because the promises were only made to them and their forefathers by faith. Okay, it wouldn't benefit the heathen. The heathens could say, "Oh yeah, the promises are for us if they want to," but at the end of the day, the promises were never made for you. They were never part. You were never part of it to begin with. So yeah, go ahead, Ak.
This is Leviticus 19 and 19. You shall keep my statutes. Thou shalt not let thy cattle gender with a diverse kind. Thou shalt not sow thy field with mingled seed. Neither shall a garment mingle of linen and wool come upon thee.
Right. So Moses said in his law in Leviticus that we shall not sow fields with mingled seed.
Yeah.
So it'll be, first of all, if somebody would try to, like Esau try to be a mad scientist, try to splice everything, try to graft everything one with another, or try to split the genes, or if a gardener tried to graft an apple tree with an orange tree, guess what? They would be going off. Okay. So if the Most High was trying to graft in Gentiles, the Gentiles in the New Testament, if those Gentiles in the New Testament were heathens, going off.
And the Most High does not go off.
Exactly. So
that's splitting genes right there, man. Because the heathens are different from us. The Yahweh always separated us from the heathens. So why would He be trying to bring the heathens onto us if He was separating us from the heathens from the beginning? That's why He made Abraham leave.
Right.
All right. That's why He made Abraham leave. That's why he took Israel out of Egypt and made them and brought them to the promised land to separate them from the heathens in the first place, man.
Right. Was not the Most High murking us and jacking us up for trying to take the Babylonian garments, for letting the heathens live in the land, for trying to make pacts with them and be at peace? Did not the Most High jack us up for that?
Look at the state Israel is now, man. Why you think we like this, man? Because you fucking idiots wanted to be like the fucking heathens, man.
And let the heathens in and everything.
Because y'all made a pact. Y'all made a cool pact with what's his name, man? Antiochus, man. Was it not Antiochus and the Maccabees where it was like,
Right.
yo, yeah, we want to be like the heathens, man.
Mm-hmm.
We tired of living like Israelites. We want to be like the heathens. Now look at us, man.
So you telling me that Most High done put all of this judgment upon us
To let the people that he was judging us for come be with us. Don't make no sense, man.
God, so Most High put all this judgment on us, all these judgments on us for joining into the heathen, for trying to let the heathens come in, for trying to be like the heathens, for trying to give the heathens a pass, and then all of a sudden he's just gonna turn around and then be a hypocrite to his own word and graft the heathen and explain it to me.
It can't be explained because that shit don't make no sense. like let's say for instance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cain was born a faggot.
Mm-hmm.
That curse got put on him.
Mm-hmm.
So the Lord will let a faggot come cool it with us when he said every faggot shall be put to death.
Mm-hmm.
What sense does that make?
It doesn't make sense.
What sense does that make, man? That shit don't make no fucking sense at all, man.
Exactly.
Esau, the fucking devil himself, man. A fucking lawless vagabond, man.
Mm-hmm.
Who ate raw meat. Ate raw fucking meat. Alright? When the law tell you you ain't supposed to eat no blood, man.
Mm-hmm.
So the Lord just gonna let an Edomite get with us.
Nah. They ain't got the spirit of Most High. Nah. So,
see,
impossible.
Do you see how that makes no sense for heathens to for Romans 11 to be talking about heathens, man?
But hey, we got one more precept to bring out, a few more points to bring out, man. And if they can't get it, they can't get it. Because
Right.
at the end of the day, I mean,
it's for the elect.
It's for the elect anyway. The chapter talking about the elect.
That's right.
It's not talking about everybody.
That's right.
So it's only for the elect anyway. But if they want to ignore the fact that Paul already broke it down in Romans chapter 9, who the Gentiles are, that's their business.
That's right.
They can go ahead, turn away their ears. We don't care. We don't care. So we're gonna bring out one more precept. First Ezra 9 and 36.
All right. This is First Ezra, not chapter 9. Okay. Salah. Papers got stuck together. All right. This is First Ezra chapter 9, verse 36.
Mm-hmm.
All right. All these have taken strange wives and put them away with their children.
So in Second Ezra, in First Ezra 9 and in the 9th chapter, the Most High had basically cursed Israel out through Ezra because the men of Israel had taken the heathen women and had adopted the heathen women's children because they had children from previous marriages and was trying to give them inheritance in Israel.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So the Most High said, no, you got to put away those wives and you got to put away those children that you adopted that belong to those wives and their former husbands. Okay. So the Most High did that back then. Why would he turn around and do something different now? Most High told us not to let heathens join in and graft in and be amongst us and mingle amongst us and try to have an inheritance amongst us. So why would he change now? Doesn't make any sense. So we're gonna go back to Romans 11.
You read 18 again.
You can read 18. We don't touch on that. Yeah.
This is Romans 11 and 18. Boast not against the branches, but if thou boast, thou bearest not the root, but the root thee.
Mm-hmm.
Thou would say then, the branches are broken off that I might be grafted in. Well, because of unbelief they were broken off.
Mm-hmm.
And thou standest by faith. Be not high-minded, but fear.
So Paul was admonishing them, Most High's grafting in you Gentiles, you Israelite foreigners. Don't boast against the branches, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Don't think that you're better than them because they were broken off and they were cast off because they lacked faith, okay? And you receiving mercy because of your faith, so you need to fear the Most High, unless the same thing happened to you.
And you gotta understand who Paul was talking about when he said the branches were broken off. He was talking about the Jakes that actually knew that they were Israelites, man.
Mm-hmm.
They got basically casted aside and put aside because they didn't believe on Yahweh Shai, right? And Yahweh Bashim Shai, son Paul, to go gather in Israel with faith, that had faith and believed. All right, that's where the grafting came from. So Paul telling these Gentiles, yo, don't buck up because the Israelites in Jerusalem basically got cast out so you can come in because you are faith, man. You was going off from the beginning, like since you came out the womb, you was living like a Greek, you was living like a heathen, man. So you better humble yourself down because the Lord actually gave you a chance to believe on Him and to come back into this, man.
That's right. Con.
That's why he told him to fear.
Con.
All right, verse 21.
That's right.
For if the Most High spared not the natural branches.
Con.
So Paul's saying, hey, you see the Most High, He ain't spared the Israelites that knew they was Israel. He didn't give a fuck. All right, just because you know you Israelites and you wearing your fringes and you what's that?
Phylacteries.
The phylacteries, man. Just because they had on the phylacteries and the fringes and and stuff like that.
They had that nationalism about them.
You feel me? They over here walking with the staffs. You feel me? We Israelites. The Lord didn't they have no mercy on them, man. He didn't spare them, man. All right. Take heed lest He also spare not thee.
Con. So you go ahead and make that point.
No, I was gonna say the reason why Paul was saying that, because like we were saying before, they knew they was Israel, so they knew the Most High. You didn't know the Most High,
right?
All right. That's why us brothers right now we cleave so close to the scriptures and we do as much as we can in our strength. Was told by the apostles through the Spirit of Yahweh, because before we came into this, we didn't even know the Most High, man.
Right, we didn't really know anything. We didn't know shit.
We gonna put it clean. We didn't know the Most High, man, in this lifetime because, hey, I know for a fact before I came into His truth, I didn't know who Yahweh was.
Right, con. And any notion of the Most High that we had was coming from false doctrine, false teachers.
You feel me? All right.
Con. So that's where I think that's where we want to stop. I want to focus on the natural part because we was talking about how the Jews of the circumcision knew that they was Israelites, they was keeping the law. So we're gonna focus on the words to prove that. So we're gonna go to the Strong's Concordance, Strong's G 5449.
449.
Yeah, 5449. Let the Edomite say it.
Strong's G 5449. Phusis.
Yes, phusis, and basically the word means nature. Okay, here we're dealing with the word natural or nature. Okay, like it says, the natural branches in Romans 11. And it means nature of things, the force, laws, order of nature, as opposed to what is monstrous, abnormal, or perverse, because they knew they were Israelites as keeping the law, etc., and everything that was outside of that would have been considered perverse or abnormal. The second definition under the first definition, as opposed to what has been produced by the art of man, the natural branches, i.e. branches by the operation of nature. Then the B, second definition B, birth, physical origin. The third definition C, of a mode of feeling. This is the one I want to focus on. A mode of feeling and acting, which by long habit has become nature. So what does that tell you? That it was natural for them to keep the law, statutes, commandments, to wear the fringes, to keep the customs, to know that they were Israelites, to be gung ho about being Jews, and proud about it. That had become their nature because they had been doing it for so long.
They were still in the land, and they were still in the land of Israel, and everybody else was scattered by that time. All right. So they were still in the land, still keeping the customs as much as they can. So if you were born into it in that place, in Israel at the time, your fathers and your grandfathers were still doing and keeping the customs, so you would have kept the customs, man.
Current, and you also had Jews outside of the land of Israel, like it says in Acts chapter 2, that was also keeping the customs because you had, Israelite habitations in Egypt and in Mesopotamia and in Rome, and they had their synagogues and everything. So they was also part of the what would be considered the circumcision as well. Okay, so they had been doing this for so long, it had become their nature. It was natural to them. That's why they're called the natural branches. Okay. Um, Now we're also going to focus on a second definition here, because it says natural branches and good olive tree, natural olive tree in Romans 11, and the word here in the Greek is Strong's G2565, and I'm gonna let the might say it.
Strong's G 2565. Kalielias. Kalielias.
Right, Kalielias, and it says the garden olive as opposed to the wild olive. So this olive is of the garden. It's of the vineyard, right? So it's been cultivated, it's been taken care of, it's been watered, it's been treated right, it's been pruned, as opposed to the wild olive tree that grows in the wild and it grows whatever way it wants, grows over the wall, under the wall, twists around the light pole. It's not pruned. It got birds nest in it, insects in it, got a beehive hanging off of it. Okay. And the word there, when you go to the Strong's definition area here, it says kileolas, and it says from the base of G2566 and G1636, a cultivated olive tree, a domesticated or improved one, good olive tree. So, like we went into earlier about the wild olive tree, the reason why they were being called wild is because they were undomesticated, they were untamed, they were uncultured, they were uneducated in the way of being Israelite. They were uneducated in the law, statutes, and commandments. Whereas the Jews of the circumcision, the natural olive tree, they were domesticated, they were cultivated, they were improved upon. Okay, they were educated in the ways of being an Israelite. How to keep the law, statutes, commandments, what the law, statutes, commandments are. Okay. So that's the final point. If you want to, throw in a point, if you have anything to say, go ahead.
Um, so I really don't have nothing else to say, but you niggas, not talking to you brothers. I should say I'm talking to the niggas that might click this video and watch it. You niggas who think Romans 11 is talk about heathens, and may you die like the heathens, man. All right, because it's been shown to you not only by Paul himself through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Shai. You then had several videos from starting with the apostles and brothers breaking it down and explaining it. So if you don't get it by now, we're in 2016, man. If you don't get it right by now, that means it wasn't meant for you. So death to you, man.
Con man. And I also want to give a good mention to that brother Ricard Kwam in London, because a lot of some of the points that we brought out here, a lot of it is memorized from some of the lessons that he did on it, and also Elder Gabar too. So shalom and salutations to the elders, the apostles, the older brothers in the truth. Double honors to you, brothers, the water for teaching us and giving us the understanding. So with that, we want to give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, double honors to the elder apostles of Great Millstone, and salutations to all the Akim out there pushing the word of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, and teaching the doctrine and the scriptures the right way, in truth and sincerity. Shalom.
Shalom.